we have entered a different age, not of military confrontation, but of economic confrontation, in which the United States wants to be the arbiter.
For the full recording and much more, go to geopoliticalfutures.com/ClubGPF.
So this leaves the world this way. This is now what was the European age is the American age. The United States is the most powerful country in the world because it cannot be attacked and has an enormous capability of attacking others. Secondly, it has a continent at peace with a massive economy. Now, we cry when there's a 3% decline in the economy and it's terrible, but the fact of the matter is we're the pivot of the world. So what the United States doing is adopting a new strategy of tariffs as a weapon. It's not a permanent weapon. It's the way he did it with the Canadians. He put tariffs on it. He took tariffs off of it. We're jerking their chains. We're measuring our strength. We're seeing how a new geopolitical system, not based on military power alone, but heavily on economic power. You take a look at China and you see the Chinese need to subordinate its economics as military strength, which it was never in a position to attack the United States or take on the US Navy. I think that was a myth. And bring economic solutions. So the world is now running not on the military balance of power outside of the Middle East. At this point, it's still there, but in terms of economic power. And the United States is shifting the balance of power away from military formations while maintaining it as a potential at all times to economic warfare, to try to shape alliances and structures, to bring the Chinese under control and even the Canadians under control, poor Canada. We are primarily interested in the Western Hemisphere. This is why there's so much focus now on Venezuela and El Salvador and all these countries. Our fundamental interest is to maintain the South and Cuba as well in a different posture. Cuba is now in a terrible position. Any Russian support that would be there would alienate the United States. They can't afford it. So what Cuba becomes a symbol of what happens in Latin America. And what I'm saying here is that the United States is in a unique historic position to shape the world, just as Europe was in a unique position to shape the world. And the Romans were there and so on. We necessarily underestimate ourselves. It's our charm. Sometimes it's stupid and shouldn't be done. We take trivial problems and don't see the broader realities. This does not mean that we undertake the invasion of the world. Our goal is not to be troubled by things that happen in the world. So actually, the problem in the United States now is not to keep the Russians under check or block the Chinese, but reach understandings of the Russians and the Chinese that they don't go to war with each other. We don't want a war that we have to take sides in. And to pacify the world. That way we can go back to watching football on all the days of football is played and basketball. And my God, I can go back to the Yankees and see the greatest team in the world of any sport play and maybe get some relievers that we need badly. But that's another question. But these are things we can worry about now. But this is a problem now of engineering. The geopolitical layout is a given. The understandings have to be engineered, and that depends on internal political politics in Russia, for example, and in the United States. Putin must maintain the order. Whether he survives afterwards, we don't know. But he not only went to war, he wrecked the Russian economy by making it a war economy. And after the war, it has to rebuild itself, as the United States did, radically. The oligarchs are furious. Their money is locked in American banks. American hedge funds are collecting money to invest in Russia. Russian land is cheap. Labor is cheap. Labor is good. Many of these things are there. So when we look at the situation, We have entered a different age, not of military confrontation, but of economic confrontation, in which the United States wants to be the arbiter and can be for the time being. But economic competition is one thing, military competition is another. But the thing to understand is all this links together. The Cold War anchored down the world. The European age anchored the world. It was a period in which the world was organized by the European powers. The Cold War anchored the world where you were either pro-Russian, pro-American, or neutral. There are no more choices. There are many choices around, except in every one of them, what the U.S. thinks is significant.